Hey guys, this is KillRob speaking, and today we are continuing our work on the Diablo 2 Countess run simulator. Last episode we did come quite far with all the UI and art assets we made. We cleaned up this UI and created all the various backgrounds for export and all the buttons. They are all done. And today there's not much more UI work to do, or zero to be exact. We are instead going to quickly take a look at sounds. Just before starting recording this video, I went into Diablo 2 and just grabbed a recording, and we are going to take a listen. Have a listen here. We are going to use Adobe Audition CC for our audio editing and importing, and let's see what it has. Okay. The raw sound clip is an MP4, which is not what I need, but yeah, okay. So you hear where we are by listening to that. It's in Horogoth. That's the ambience. We can't get rid of the ambience, but we do have a few sounds in here that we want to use. Like this one. Yeah, some selection stuff going on, and okay, not the charm, no, but this. They're the runes. Yeah, those we need. And was there more selection stuff going on? Okay, so it's basically these two sounds for various selections, and then we have the rune sound in there. And what I'm going to do is subtract the background noise, which is the ambience, from this file, and try to isolate these sounds better. So this is a nice background noise sample, and I'm going to use this as capture noise print. There we go. Okay, noise reduction process. So now we have that. Play. Oh, it's gone! That's awesome. It's completely gone, the background. There's nothing there. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, we're going to apply this to everything. And whoa, it's super clean. I didn't expect it to become that clean. Alright, this is amazing. Alright, we isolated the sounds. Now I have to individually save them. Okay, these are the three main sounds we need. Just have a listen. Okay, good enough. So now the way I'm going to save them so that they are working in the tool properly is I want to start exactly where the waveform of the sound starts so that it feels instantaneous when you click a button. Otherwise, if you have too much here, you would have to somehow get an offset in there that it starts the playing of the sound a little later. And I have no clue how that would work. So I'm just going to use this part of the sound, but make sure that I cut it off at the end where the waveform is back to 0. Okay, so now we have the big button sound. Yep, so that sound will be played for the main toggle selections on the left-hand side of the UI. That would be these. I think that's appropriate. And here we have our small button sound. That might be a little annoying, but we can always make it quieter, a lot quieter, then it's less in your face. Alright, last but not least, the rune sound. Yep, there we have that, and now I just need to save them. And there we have our wave files. Nice and sweet, short and sweet, and that should be the basics done. And I'm just cleaning up a little bit, making folders for the appropriate things in here. But before I do that, let me just embed all of these links, because otherwise the program will complain. So embed all instances. There we go. Well, that is all for the sounds. That was really quick. So before we get started actually implementing things and making calculations, I want to fill you in on what I have done so far for for the calculation side of the rune runs. And let's have a look at my little spreadsheet. Alright, so this is the spreadsheet with all the results from my runs, but also, on top of that, I don't really want to use my run data because that is so limited in scope. Only 300 runs doesn't give you accurate statistics. It's in the ballpark, as we have found out in the Countess run series. I commented on that. It will be pretty accurate, but not to the point where I would be using that data for making a grand statement about statistics for a tool like this. And thus I'm going to use the theoretical chances of finding them that are calculated in various drop calculators. And I did find one that was on a German-speaking Diablo 2 site, I believe. And that one gave me data for patch 1.13. And if you there select the Countess and rune drops, you get these chances. But these chances are not straight up the chances we can use, because that doesn't consider the actual amount of runes she's dropping and where the limits are. And also it contains both the Countess specific drops, which is 0 to 3 runes per run, and it also contains the normal monster rune drops, which are non-Countess specific. That is why you can find a Ghoul, Ohm, Vex and Low rune from the Countess in Hell difficulty, but the chances you do so are very, very slim, because these runes are not part of the Countess specific rune drop, which is way, way more prevalent. Okay, so you have now the the sum of these chances to get these runes for all difficulties. And now we somehow need to extract the Countess specific rune drop chances. My hypothesis is that the distribution of runes dropped never changes. Only the cutoff point changes. And that is true for each individual difficulty for itself. It does vary between difficulties though. So what I did was to take the an Act 5 Balrog, like a guest monster, that is able to drop... is it able to drop all the runes? I think so. Yes, it should be. So able to drop all the runes, and I then take the drops from, when it comes to runes, from that monster. I have a list of chances here for those drops, and of course they are way, way lower than a Countess. But then I only look at the runes that this monster can drop, which also the Countess can drop, but which are not part of the Countess main rune drop. And my postulation was that the distribution is equal. So if that is true, then dividing the chances to find those out of specific Countess drop range runes by the drop chance that the Balrog has, that should give us the same factor for all 4 of these runes, because the distribution I postulated was the same. So if we just divide the 2 distributions, we should get a constant. And look at that. That turned out to be exactly true. Well, not entirely exactly, but down to 1,000th of, or better than that even. So that confirms that this little hypothesis is a theory. So one that is backed up by evidence. And that allows me to calculate what the Countess drop rates for runes are that are part of her Countess specific drop, but the chance for her to drop one extra. So we have our sum, which we won't be using for anything basically, but you see here our Countess specific drop chance per run. That's on a per run basis, and you see it ends up at 213%. While the original was, the sum was at 215.5%. So the 2% missing there is the additional runes she could drop in theory. And these 2% are represented by the normal distribution here. So what I'm going to do is to come up with a distribution that matches what we found out over here, but also includes the additional information of having 2 separate drops. So one for the counter-specific ones, one for the normal drop. What that means for the program is that these are the numbers for each difficulty, which we have to hard code into the tool in order to calculate the various drop rates. Oh, okay. I've spent a few more minutes looking at this stuff. Took a break, then looked at it again, and I think I know what's going on here. So, hear me out. Maybe it is the following way. These percentages are way too high for a good reason. This is the straight up chance of dropping a rune. It just falls through the treasure classes. So it starts here, right? So this is the counter specific drop. So it starts at the Ist rune, fails, then rolls for this one, fails, runs for this one, fails, blah blah blah. As soon as it has hit either a successful rune drop or has fallen through, then the next rune is rolled, and there are 3 slots. And that gives these numbers I've been seeing here, the average of 1.86 or 186% chance to get a rune, so to say. And that is lower a number than these, because we are limited to well, it's being rolled and we are limited to 3 tries. Okay, so far so good, that makes sense. And then this chance is another 2 rolls, 2 chances I guess, and it will come up snake eyes more often than not. So yeah, that might be the case why we are seeing lower numbers effectively with 0 drops and 1 drops. Like 0 drops would be that it 3 times goes through this list and doesn't roll positive on any single rune. Yeah, I think that might be the case. Anyway, that is something that needs to be tested in code with some debugging tools on and just seeing what actually happens. Alright, I think it is time for something scary, and that is to set up the programming project in GameMaker Studio. Alright, give me a few. Alright, after a quick update and stuff, I'm right here in GameMaker Studio 2. And we are starting a new project, and we are doing that project not in drag and drop. We're not that newbie. Well, we are super newbie, but I'm going to do the programming stuff. Yes, GameMaker language.
Whee! Painting pictures on screen, I love this.
Alright, what do we want to call it?
The project is called D2 CRS.
Of course. There we go. Yes, okay, it worked. And we have an empty workspace. Excellent. So, now I will have to, I do have a room 0. Okay, so GameMaker Studio 2 is based on rooms, basically levels or spaces where you put in scripts and assets and all that stuff. And everything else just is built from there. So what I'm going to do now is, yeah, no, that is a good question. Maybe, do I want to start with the room 0 and just write some test code and have us use the debugging tool, or should we start setting up the actual UI? Okay, let me first import all the assets we have created and will need. So that should be pretty simple, just a little tedious. Let me get to it. And there we go. This is how it works. So I just select them and right, the 3 that are together, and it will create a sprite, and that sprite has 3 different subframes. And this speed should be 0, I guess. And these are my subframes, 28 times 28 pixels, as intended. And our 0, 0 is up in the corner. That's also important to note. And that is the same 0 location as in InDesign. Okay, so far so good. I will give them appropriate names. SPR for sprite, then underscore button, underscore checkmark, and whatever is needed. Yeah, and we go from here. I shall do the same for all of the sprites, all of the different buttons. One cool thing, a little mistake I noticed, but it is cool because it is useful, is the following. Look at that. Now concentrate on the alignment of the hell here. Do you see how it shifts down for the bright version? I didn't intend to do that, but that is a fair way of creating a little bit of depth in your UI. That when a button is pressed, that you just fake depth by lowering or highering the text on that button. And I don't know why it happened. I assume I accidentally hit an arrow key, moving at 1 pixel on one of the template buttons I used, and then copied that over for everything. So all of our mode select buttons actually have that feature. It's a bug, but it's a feature that the text is 1 pixel lower. I think that will look pretty good. And now look at that. We have one large list of all of the runes. I've named them accordingly so that they are numbered perfectly. And now we have frame 1 is an L rune. Frame 3, rune 3, is a tier rune. Excellent, isn't it? Rune 33 is a Zod. Beautiful. That's how it should be. I'm not so sure about the backgrounds. Do I want to put them into one sprite or different ones? Considering that it's a room switch which is happening and that the UI needs to be rebuilt anyway, in that instance, like destruct the old UI from the previous screen and construct the new UI, then I don't think it's too much of a weirdness to actually have them one by one. Alright, this is the very first time I add any sound assets to anything I've made. So far, so simple. Let's see what happens. Okay. Oh, that was beautiful. What the fuck happened there? Oh. Okay, was it that easy? I just opened Explorer and dragged them in there, and now they're there. Let's see if they are completely fucked, though. Oh, they are! No, what's going on? Do they need a different format or something? They do sound different in how horrendous they are. Like popping your ears. Alright, well that is bad. Why? Why does this happen? Alright, I have not found anything in the options just yet for audio stuff. And yeah, can't find any reason for these sounds not behaving right now. But I set out to change in something in the options menu, and that is something very important. That is, we want to run the game at... do we want to run the game at 60 frames a second or 100? That is how many calculation steps there are per second. So that is a quite important number, I would say. It is easier to calculate, just in general, with 100, of course, 100 base. Oh, although you Americans over there are probably like, oh no, that's totally not the case. I mean, the basis of, what is it, 12 is much better, and we can always change it later. Not many settings that are actually hooking into this. Apart from, well, yeah, every calculation step, every frame is a calculation step, so... alright, I just wanted to show you that, and now I keep on looking for what is going on with this fucking sound. Probably nothing here. Oh, there we go. As expected. Okay, I went into audio audition and lowered the export quality for the sound to something that is a little bit more reasonable CD quality instead of studio quality. And that worked! So now I know. Now I just have to generate some lower quality sounds from this too. Okay, now we have the sounds in here. Yes! Oh shit, what's going on here? Is this how it's supposed to sound? Does sound wrong. As if it's repeating or something. Ah, yeah. I think one click was too slow before, and now it's working. I made the sound file longer. See, I just added silence at the end. And that was all that was required to make this one work. Cool, okay. I'm definitely not a sound engineer, but fortunately I've had my fair bit of troubles with sound and all kinds of stuff. So I know a few tricks. Yeah, workarounds rather, not tricks. Okay, so now we have all the assets in game. Or do we need more? No, we do need more. I still need the title, the sprite title. Okay, there, now we are gone. And I'm going to rename them to something that has a tag. So, for instance, sound. Yeah, that's better. Otherwise, it will be hard to find them in the autocomplete menus. Okay, guys, I think this should wrap us up for today. We have come a fair bit in this project. Not a single line of code has been written, but damn. We have come far. Sounds so weird. And probably this whole process is very different from what many of you expected it to be. Yeah, game and like software development in general is very different from what many people expect it to be. It's like, oh, well, just add this little thing. Yeah. 10 hours later. It's 10 hours, that will be quick. Yeah, so I'm happy with where we are. Even sounds working, so maybe I can add some more sounds later on, but these are the basics. More polishing, of course, is something for much later. First we need the basics done. And with us going through the calculations today, I think I've explained it somewhat reasonably well, what's going on, but yeah, we'll see. Also, next up, I believe, is just making a few test calculations. Just put up a simple room without any UI or anything, and just spit out numbers, so that we maybe make a button, just a single button, which spits out a new Countess run. And then we see the data of the runes coming, and check the roll chances and whatnot. So just to see if our algorithm works. Yeah, develop an algorithm. Oh, not an algorithm, not whatever arbitrary algorithm, but rather the algorithm. And give it a good test. That might be something for next episode. Alright, I hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time.